Learn English from quotes. Andy Grove. 202101114. A big part of a middle manager's work is to supply information and know-how, and to impart a sense of the preferred method of handling things to the groups under his control and influence. A manager also makes and helps to make decisions. Both kinds of basic managerial tasks can only occur during face-to-face encounters, and therefore only during meetings. Thus I will assert again that a meeting is nothing less than the medium through which managerial work is performed. That means we should not be fighting their very existence, but rather using the time spent in them as efficiently as possible. A corporation is a living organism, it has to continue to shed its skin. Methods have to change. Focus has to change. Values have to change. The sum total of those changes is transformation. Plus a manager's output equals the output of his organization plus the output of the neighboring organizations under his influence. A question that often comes up at times of strategic transformation is, should you pursue a highly focused approach, betting everything on one strategic goal, or should you hedge? Mark Twain hit it on the head when he said, "Put all of your eggs in one basket and watch that basket." A strategic inflection point is a time in the life of business when its fundamentals are about to change. That change can mean an opportunity to rise to new heights. But it may just as likely signal the beginning of the end. Accept that no matter where you go to work, you are not an employee, you are a business with one employee, you. Admitting that you need to learn something new is always difficult. It is even harder if you are a senior manager who is accustomed to the automatic deference which people accord you owing to your position. But if you don't fight it, that very deference may become a wall that isolates you from learning new things. It all takes self-discipline. Altogether too often, people substitute opinions for facts and emotions for analysis. Plus Andy introduces management with this classic equation: a manager's output equals the output of his organization plus the output of the neighboring organizations under his influence. Are you trying new ideas, new techniques, and new technologies, and I mean personally trying them, not just reading about them? Or are you waiting for others to figure out how they can re-engineer your workplace and you out of that workplace? As we throw ourselves into raw actions, our senses and instincts will rapidly be honed again. At Intel, we put ourselves through an annual strategic long-range planning effort in which we examine our future 5 years off. But what is really being influenced here? It is the next year and only the next year. Bad companies are destroyed by crisis, good companies survive them, great companies are improved by them. Business success contains the seeds of its own destruction. The more successful you are, the more people want a chunk of your business and then another chunk and then another until there is nothing. Businesses fail either because they leave their customers or because their customer leave them. By elevating someone, we are, in effect, creating role models for others in our organization. Complacency often afflicts precisely those who have been the most successful. Delegation without follow-through is abdication. Does that mean that you shouldn't plan? Not at all. You need to plan the way a fire department plans. It cannot anticipate where the next fire will be, so it has to shape an energetic and efficient team that is capable of responding to the unanticipated as well as to any ordinary event. Eliciting peak performance means going up against something or somebody. Let me give you a simple example. For years the performance of the Intel Facilities Maintenance Group, which is responsible for keeping our buildings clean and neat, was mediocre, and no amount of pressure or inducement seemed to do any good. We then initiated a program in which each building's upkeep was periodically scored by a resident senior manager, dubbed a building czar. The score was then compared with those given the other buildings. The condition of all of them dramatically improved almost immediately. Nothing else was done, people did not get more money or other rewards. What they did get was a racetrack, an arena of competition. If your work is facilities maintenance, having your building receive the top score is a powerful source of motivation. This is key to the manager's approach and involvement. He has to see the work as it is seen by the people who do that work every day and then create indicators so that his subordinates can watch their racetrack take shape. Here I'd like to introduce the concept of leverage, which is the output generated by a specific type of work activity. An activity with high leverage will generate a high level of output, an activity with low leverage, a low level of output. How can you motivate yourself to continue to follow a leader when he appears to be going around in circles? How well we communicate is determined not by how well we say things but how well we are understood. I believe in the value of paranoia. Business success contains the seeds of its own destruction. The more successful you are, the more people want a chunk of your business and then another chunk and then another until there is nothing left. I can't help but wonder why leaders are so often hesitant to lead. I guess it takes a lot of conviction and trusting your gut to get ahead of your peers, your staff and your employees while they are still squabbling about which path to take, and set an unhesitating, unequivocal course whose rightness or wrongness will not be known for years. Such a decision really tests the mettle of the leader. By contrast, it doesn't take much self-confidence to downsize a company after all. How can you go wrong by shuttering factories and laying people off if the benefits of such actions are going to show up in tomorrow's bottom line and will be applauded by the financial community? I have been quoted saying that, in the future, all companies will be internet companies. I still believe that. More than ever, really. I think Amazon is the preeminent pioneer in building a new way of doing commerce, personalized, database-driven commerce, where the big value is not in the purchase fulfillment, but in knowing as much about a customer base of 10 or 20 million people as a corner store used to know about a customer base of a few hundred. In today's mass merchandising world, that's largely gone. Amazon is trying to use computer technology to re-establish it. I think Amazon is the preeminent pioneer in building a new way of doing commerce, personalized, database-driven commerce, where the big value is not in the purchase fulfillment, but in knowing as much about a customer base of 10 or 20 million people as a corner store used to know about a customer base of a few hundred. In today's mass merchandising world, that's largely gone. Amazon is trying to use computer technology to re-establish it. If you're wrong, you will die. But most companies don't die because they are wrong, most die because they don't commit themselves. They fritter away their valuable resources while attempting to make a decision. The greatest danger is in standing still. 30% 50%. In the first round of work simplification, you can reasonably expect a 30 to 50% reduction. To implement the actual simplification, you must question why each step is performed. Typically, you will find that many steps exist in your workflow for no good reason. Often they are there by tradition or because formal procedure ordains it, and nothing practical ordains it. In the work of the soft professions, it becomes very difficult to distinguish between output and activity. And as noted, stressing output is the key to improving productivity, while looking to increase activity can result in just the opposite. 2000. Just as you would not permit a fellow employee to steal a piece of office equipment worth $2,000, You shouldn't let anyone walk away with the time of his fellow managers. Let chaos reign, then reign in chaos. Middle managers are the muscle and bone of every sizable organization, no matter how loose or flattened the hierarchy, but they are largely ignored despite their immense importance to our society and economy. My day always ends when I'm tired and ready to go home, not when I'm done. I am never done. No problem is so complicated that you cannot make it more complicated. On the other hand, when there's a fundamental change in the industry and you don't change your skills, you will lose at both winning companies and losing companies. That is a situation that can truly be classified as a career inflection point. One of the manager's key tasks is to settle 6 important questions in advance. What decision needs to be made? When does it have to be made? Who will decide? Who will need to be consulted prior to making the decision? Who will ratify or veto the decision? Who will need to be informed of the decision? Only the paranoid survive. PCMCIA, people can't memorize computer industry's acronyms. People in the trenches are usually in touch with impending changes early. People who have no emotional stake in a decision can see what needs to be done sooner. Remember too that your time is your one finite resource, and when you say yes to one thing you are inevitably saying no to another. Strategic changes doesn't just start at the top. It starts with your calendar. Success breeds complacency. Complacency breeds failure. Only the paranoid survive. Technology will always win. You can delay technology by legal interference, but technology will flow around legal barriers. The ability to recognize that the winds have shifted and to take appropriate action before you wreck your boat is crucial to the future of an enterprise. The absolute truth is that if you don't know what you want, you won't get it. The art of management lies in the capacity to select from the many activities of seemingly comparable significance the 1 or 2 or 3 that provide leverage well beyond the others and concentrate on them. The delegator and delegatee must share a common information base and a common set of operational ideas or notions on how to go about solving problems. The implication was that either the people in the room needed to change their areas of knowledge and expertise or people themselves needed to be changed. The key to survival is to learn to add more value. The lesson is, we all need to expose ourselves to the winds of change. The most important role of managers is to create an environment in which people are passionately dedicated to winning in the marketplace. Fear plays a major role in creating and maintaining such passion. Fear of competition, fear of bankruptcy, fear of being wrong and fear of losing can all be powerful motivators. The most important role of managers is to create an environment in which people are passionately dedicated to winning in marketplace. The old saying has it that when we promote our best salesman and make him a manager, we ruin a good salesman and get a bad manager. But if we think about it, we see we have no choice but to promote the good salesman. Should our worst salesman get the job? When we promote our best, we are saying to our subordinates that performance is what counts. The output of a manager is the output of the organizational units under his or her supervision or influence. The performance rating of a manager cannot be higher than the one we would accord to his organization. It is very important to assess actual performance, not appearances, real output, not good form. The sad news is, nobody owes you a career. Your career is literally your business. You own it as a sole proprietor. You have one employee, yourself. You are in competition with millions of similar businesses, millions of other employees all over the world. You need to accept ownership of your career, your skills, and the timing of your moves. It is your responsibility to protect this personal business of yours from harm and to position it to benefit from the changes in the environment. Nobody else can do that for you. The single most important task of a manager is to elicit peak performance from his subordinates. So if two things limit high output, a manager has two ways to tackle the issue, through training and motivation. There are so many people working so hard and achieving so little. There is no question that having standards and believing in them and staffing an administrative unit objectively using forecasted workloads will help you to maintain and enhance productivity. To put a man on the moon, NASA asked several major contractors and many subcontractors to work together, each on a different aspect of the project. An unintended consequence of the moonshot was the development of a new organizational approach, matrix management. We confused the manager's general competence and maturity with his task-relevant maturity. We live in an age in which the pace of technological change is pulsating ever faster, causing waves that spread outward toward all industries. This increased rate of change will have an impact on you, no matter what you do for a living. We must recognize that no amount of formal planning can anticipate changes such as globalization and the information revolution we've referred to above. Does that mean that you shouldn't plan? Not at all. You need to plan the way a fire department plans. It cannot anticipate where the next fire will be, so it has to shape an energetic and efficient team that is capable of responding to the unanticipated as well as to any ordinary event. What kind of a society are we going to have if it consists of highly paid people doing high value-added work, and masses of unemployed? When a person is not doing his job, there can only be two reasons for it. The person either can't do it or won't do it, he is either not capable or not motivated. To determine which, we can employ a simple mental test: if the person's life depended on doing the work, could he do it? If the answer is yes, that person is not motivated. If the answer is no, he is not capable. You have to accept that no matter where you work, you are not an employee. You are in a business with one employee, yourself. You are in competition with millions of similar businesses. There are millions of others all over the world, picking up the pace, capable of doing the same work that you can do and perhaps more eager to do it. Now, you may be tempted to look around your workplace and point to your fellow workers as rivals, but they are not. They are outnumbered 1,000 to 1, 100,000 to 1, 1,000,000 to 1 by people who work for organizations that compete with your firm. So if you want to work and continue to work, you must continually dedicate yourself to retaining your individual competitive advantage. You have to pretend you're 100% sure. You have to take action. You can't hesitate or hedge your bets. Anything less will condemn your efforts to failure. You have to understand what it is that you are better at than anybody else and mercilessly focus your efforts on it. Your career is your business, and you are its CEO. 1-2. Your general planning process should consist of analogous thinking. Step 1 is to establish projected need or demand. What will the environment demand from you, your business, or your organization? Step 2 is to establish your present status. What are you producing now? What will you be producing as your projects in the pipeline are completed? Put another way, where will your business be if you do nothing different from what you are now doing? Step 3 is to compare and reconcile steps 1 and 2. Namely, what more, or less, do you need to do to produce what your environment will demand? Your information sources should complement one another, and also be redundant because that gives you a way to verify what you've learned. Feedback.